Take two.
Hey, gang. Hello. That's what happened. This is take two. My mic was muted. How about that? Look, it's the charm of the show. We've talked about this before. So we're trying this again. This is now episode 19. Episode 19. And I have on Steve Murray, who goes by the name of Chip Zdarsky. I can't pronounce this. Chip Z something or other. Whatever. Anyway, he's on the show today. But before we get to the business of bringing in Chip, you may have seen Chip already if you saw take one. Chip loves to reveal his soul, just to reveal everything about himself. But before I get into that, I want to talk to you guys about a auction that's near and dear to my heart. It started today at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's this piece of art that I did for, it was inspired by the COVID-19 first responders. I'm going to be auctioning it off. It's going to be on eBay at the Hero Initiative user site. So it's one word, Hero Initiative. 50% of the proceeds will go to NYU Langone for the first responders, and the other 50% is going to go to the Hero Initiative, which is a great charity that I support wholly. You might want to check out their mission statement as well. So please, if you get a chance, if you're interested in a piece of artwork, this is the one original. Have at it and auction away. So we're going to be talking to, now that you can hear me, we're going to be talking to Chip Zdarsky. I would say that Chip is a buddy, but I don't know if I really know him. I know him well, but it just seems like every time I talk to him, there's more and more layers to Chip. It's just, you just go deeper and deeper. It's like he's like this infinite onion. He kind of smells like an onion too, but that's a whole other story. You won't have to deal with that over this. But Chip is. Again, I just think there's a lot there, and every time I talk to him, I've seen him in interviews, I've been on streams with him, I learn a little bit more about Chip. So this is for those of you guys who don't know Chip, and hello to all our friends around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the one and only Chip Zdarsky. Chip, how are you, Chip? This is take two. Hey, Chip, how are you? You just waking up, Chip?
No, I've been up for days.
Have you? Okay. Yeah.
Thinking about stuff.
Yeah. What's on your mind?
World.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, you're looking good. Chip. Chip, it's okay, Chip.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm trying to be in a better mood.
I know, Chip. I know it's tough. But could you cheer up just a little bit for all the folks out there, that are dying to see you smile, Chip? Come on, let's see it. Come on, Chip.
Okay.
That's my Chippy. Right. That's the Chippy I know and love. Thanks. Hey man, thank you for doing the show. I hope this shines a little bit of a bright light into your mostly dark life. But Chip, hey, actually speaking of your life, I don't think you know this, because again we're not friends really.
No, we're like pre-COVID handshake buddies. I don't know what we're gonna do now.
Yeah, it's kind of Well, I don't sweat it. I really don't sweat it that much. So, but for the sake of the show, let's pretend to like each other. So
I wouldn't say we're not enemies.
You would say that.
I wouldn't say we're enemies.
Okay, you would.
No,
say
I
that.
wouldn't say we're enemies.
Right, but that's you.
Others would say it. I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, now that we've cleared that up, I don't know if you know this, because in doing my research on you, and then also researching your career, we have 3 points where we are 1 degree of separation, and I don't think you know it. But we'll touch on those as we go along. So So Chip, if you could take us back to, what was, what was your upbringing like? Were you part of a creative family? Was it something that was encouraged? And how did that sort of lead you into the world of, the creative world and the comic book world? What's the secret origin of Chip Zdarsky?
Well, my family was not creative at all. My dad and my mom, very straight-laced people, but they encouraged me and my brother to explore music and art and writing.
Oh, cool.
Just to kind of be ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a belief that as long as we were reading, it was fine. Like, he would buy us books. He would help us out when we were buying comics. He's like, as long as they're reading, they're good. So they encouraged that in me and my brother. And yeah, I don't know, like any of us, I drew a lot of comics as a kid. Because I was, lonely, and the characters on the pages were my friends.
Right.
Quite literally, I would draw a version of myself with all the people in my class that I wanted to be friends with, and they were friends with my character.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say it's sad, and that's sad. A lot of people would say it's sad.
Yeah, I'd say it's sad. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of did the same thing. Not as sad. I mean, I had friends.
Yeah.
But I did,
wow.
Yeah. I did.
So what happened since then?
I just sort of grew into this loathsome kind of person. You know what I'm like.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So that what was your first experience reading comics? I mean, what were the first comics you read?
Remember Halloween, and I think a lot of that was the old Spider-Man cartoon, the '60s one.
Sure, yeah.
So that was always around, and I love Spider-Man. And then the first comic I remember physically buying and being like, oh, this is my jam.
Mm-hmm.
Was Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars issue 7. Bought it at a 7-Eleven or something, and I was hooked. It was amazing. Yeah, that was the one.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Now, my understanding is you also read Archie books too, right?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I read Archie books, road trips and stuff were huge for Archie, because those felt novels.
Yeah.
Buy the digest, the double digest.
Mm-hmm.
It made you kind of feel like an adult. Oh, here's my novel.
Right.
Surprise, it's Archie.
Right.
I love taking those on the road. But that Secret Wars comic was the one where I had to find the issues before. That's when I realized, these exist on a continuum, and I'm in the middle of a story, and I've got to find the ones before. So that turned me into an actual collector, going into weird basements and stuff, going through back issues and talking to guys, trying to figure out how to get them. I'd do anything for them. It was only years later when you kind of realize that that comic was designed to sell a toy line for was it Mattel or something like that? I remember the story was I think it was Mattel. I think the story was that they focus tested on boys of a certain age, and the two words they loved the most were secret and wars.
Right.
That's how the title happened. But Jim Shooter and Mike Zeck rose to that and just created this epic story featuring all of the favorite characters, and everyone had their chance in the spotlight. Once you end up in the business and you start to write team books and you realize how hard that is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You have a newfound respect for the people that can do it well.
Yeah.
Well, that was my entry point.
So those Archie digests, that's our first degree of separation. My wife used to edit those books.
Okay.
She was the person that put those books together. So probably she had been Archie 15 years before she came over to work for Marvel Knights. So there's a good chance that some of those digests, those early baby Chip Zdarsky, Archie Digest we're reading were assembled by my wife at the time. Yeah. So 1 degree right there. That's our first. That's our first.
Weird.
Your first cross with me. Even before
Yeah.
I knew it. So, so now, so at what point, Chip? So because people. I don't think a lot of people Marvel know, but you're a fantastic artist as well. I'm going to be really serious for a second. You're a great writer, but you're a fantastic artist. So at what point did you realize that? Did you want to be in comics? Because you actually went into journalism and you went to a design school and can you tell us a little bit about that path that took you to the world of illustration and sort of narratively illustrating?
Yeah, as a kid, I was drawing comics, and as a kid, I wanted to make comics. But in high school, you kind of hit the point where you're just like, well, that's impossible. Like, how does someone actually do that?
How did you survive high school? I have to ask. How did you survive? Because you don't look. You kind of
what?
Yeah.
I was the shortest kid going into grade 9, like out of my entire high school, except for my friend Mike, who was in a wheelchair. He was technically shorter than me, but I got by drawing team logos on football players' arms. That's legitimately true.
But
once I realized I could draw, I would do like their tattoos, like pre-game tattoos,
right?
And that provided a level of protection for me.
But that's Canadian. That's Canadian football too, right?
It is true.
Yeah,
it is true.
Yeah. So because I got to tell you, I mean, I was a nerd in high school, but even I would have kicked your ass probably in high school. I could just.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but I was sneaky. I could get out of it. I could charm you.
Yeah. Okay, I could buy that.
Yeah.
You could talk yourself out of a fight. So in high school, I'm sorry. I deviated because I was just thinking about kicking your ass in high school. But go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't think comics were a possibility really, and then when I graduated high school, I went for graphic design, and I basically flunked out of graphic design after 1 year because I was drawing too much, and they were like, "Well, we don't draw that much in graphic design."
Right.
So I ended up taking illustration, and it turns out like a lot of went to illustration because they love to draw comics, and that just seems like a place to go to learn that. And they were very adamant that we do not do comics here. They really frowned upon it. So like a whole group of us just kind of had that like kind of beaten out of us during the course of that program. So it eliminated anything in my head about drawing comics for a living. Right. So I became like a newspaper illustrator, and I ended up working at a newspaper for about 13 years. And I started to meet people who graduated from that program who were trying to do comics.
Yeah.
Like they realized, oh, I actually like doing comics. Like, why am I avoiding doing it? And so like I kind of met a lot of people that were doing it for themselves, and I realized I could do it for myself. So I just started like self-publishing while I was working at the newspaper. And that was kind of the entry point. Once you realize you can just do comics for yourself and for fun and not make it a career path, it actually becomes a lot more joyous. So I think there's a lot of people who get in like, oh, I got to do this. I got to draw Spider-Man. I got to write Spider-Man. And it's very, there's a real focus on that. But along the way, maybe they don't actually have the joy of comics in them.
Right. Until
you kind of do it on your own and just do the things you want to do. So that was it. I was basically working at a newspaper, and my role at the paper just kept expanding. And I was just doing my own comics on the side and doing conventions and just like hand selling them because, having like 300 people like your work gives you the same, if not more, joy than having like 30,000 people like your work.
Yeah.
Like it's a more intimate, direct thing.
Absolutely.
And that's how I love comics again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I certainly miss those days of like, struggling and it was catering to a smaller audience, but there was something a little more intimate to it. Hang on, you know what? I need to do something here, Chip. Hold on. I need to. Yeah. I want to make sure that we're covered up a little bit here. Hold on a second. There we go.
Is everything okay?
Everything's fine. I just want to. Chip, hang on.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's. Hang on, Chip. It's fine.
Is there a technical problem?
No, we're good. We're good, Chip. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
All
right.
I just want to just make sure we're good. So I completely lost my train of thought. So Chip, you used to work at Canadian Tire. How about that? How about that? All right. So
wow.
wait. So yeah.
Deep
See,
research.
I did my research. I know just about everything about you. So Canadian Tire, for those in the States who don't know, is kind of like Home Depot. People in Canada, of course, know exactly what this is. People abroad, I don't know. I doubt they know what Canadian Tire is, but maybe they know what Home Depot is. So you were actually, are you handy? I mean, because you were helping people with electrical stuff, with carpentry. I mean,
yeah. So I was basically, when I was a teenager, I worked at McDonald's, and then I quit that job. And my dad was like, "You need a job. Like, if you're gonna just be hanging around in the summer, you have to work, or I'm just gonna kick you out." So I applied at Canadian Tire, this hardware store, to be a cashier because I'm not handy at all. And on my first day on the job, they threw me in the electrical department, and I'm pretty sure I sold a guy electrical wiring for a marina that was not for a marina. And right. I probably killed someone on my first day. But you know what? You kill someone on the first day, you got to get back up on that horse and not kill anyone the next day.
The next time around, yeah.
And so I worked at that hardware store for 4 or 5 years, and I learned a ton. Like electrical, painting, plumbing, all this like weird hypothetical knowledge. And yeah, it's actually coming quite handy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weirdly, it's a thing that it pushed me towards comics later on in my life, because I love that job so much. And when I left it, I always kind of missed it. And when I was just doing illustration work for newspapers, I would still go to Canadian Tire to shop. And I would go in there, and this one time in winter, I was buying some electrical stuff, and there was a family there who was trying to figure out how to wire a lamp. Like they had a broken lamp, and they needed to figure out how to do it. And no one there could help them, so I just jumped in and I showed them. I'm like, oh, you need a 5241, you got to do this, tighten these screws, and I showed them how to put it together. And on my walk home, I started to cry in the snow because I haven't felt that useful in years.
Yeah,
like I realized that just doing illustration work for a newspaper,
it doesn't light anybody's room. You just Yeah, literally and metaphorically. Very good, Joe. Very good. That's why you're one of the best in the biz. Thank you, Chip.
And yeah, that kind of like that really tweaked something in me where I was like, oh, I gotta do something that either tangibly helps people or like lifts them up or gives them some form of joy in their life, and then that really helped me kind of shift over to comics. That weird hardware store job.
Right. Have you applied any knowledge to your comics? Have you had any hardware scenes? Any scenes where characters have needed to wire something, or is it a character you're creating in the future?
Oh wow.
Oh
wow. I think you're onto something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just
keep that in the future.
Keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, because
I can put up ceiling fans. That's my specialty. Just so you know.
A what?
I was in charge of the ceiling fans. I could put up a good ceiling fan. No problem.
There you go. Cool. So, all right then. Now, Chip. So, again, I'm not sure. I think a lot of your fans know this. I don't know if people around the world know this. But first of all, your real name is Steve Murray, right? And Steve Murray ran for mayor of Toronto. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how did that election go for you?
Well, it was 2010. I was working at the newspaper, and I started off there as kind of an information graphics guy. Like I would do like stock charts, graphs, things like that. But I started pitching them like kind of funny stuff, and next thing I knew, I kind of had a full-time job there. It was like kind of like a mascot, writer, artist, video. I did a bit of everything. And the 2010 election was coming up in Toronto, and we were trying to figure out the best way to cover it. And I said, like, well, why don't I run for mayor? I'll run for mayor, and then we can cover the story from the inside.
Right.
And there was a lot of debate over how to do that. Like I had meetings with like the publisher and the editor and like them with this goofball in their office, and their big problem was, what if you do well? Like how do we cover you?
Right.
Like, if this actually works, like how do we report on you in the race doing well?
Yeah. It's
So
funny.
we ended up.
It's funny that they thought it would even do remotely well, but I understand.
Well, I have a certain charm, Joe. So yeah, I could have won probably by a lot if I'd actually run.
I'm sorry. Were you saying
so
something?
I didn't fill out the paperwork. And so my whole shtick was that I was going to fill out the paperwork at some point, but I still had the mayoral website and the mayoral, social accounts, and I would go on TV and talk about my campaign, and I vowed to give a campaign speech anywhere. So I ended up doing like
Right.
birthday parties for strangers,
Okay.
where I would just show up and give campaign speeches, and it was a lot of fun. And the funny sad part is, the guy who won that election was Rob Ford, who was our crack cocaine mayor.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could have been me. It could have been me in a crack scandal.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, you didn't win.
Yeah.
You didn't actually run, but
No.
hang on a second. Well, yeah, sorry. Okay. Almost. That was close. So.
What was?
So no, nothing. We're good. So where
Okay.
where did the name Chip Zdarsky come from? Where did this character come from? Because I mean, I've never met Steve, but I've always known Chip. So
No. Yeah, and you never will meet Steve.
Okay. All right.
When I was working at the newspaper, I was actually working at a couple of newspapers, and I kind of did a thing that kind of pissed off one of the newspapers. Like I did an illustration for one paper slagging the other paper because there's like a newspaper war going on.
Yeah.
And then like the next day I was supposed to have like an illustration run in the competing paper, and the editor called me and she was furious. And it's the first time I'd been dressed down by an editor, not the last. And I remember I gave her flowers to apologize because she was a huge client, and I told her, like, if I ever do anything that I think might embarrass you, I'll do it under a pseudonym. And so I started to do like a university newspaper strip that was kind of dark, and I thought, well, I should probably come up with a different name for it just in case. And so Chip was based on Charles Schultz, creator of Peanuts. Because Chip is a nickname for Charles.
And but
Charles
his nickname was Sparky.
His nickname was Sparky, and I always loved the fact that like he had a nickname that sounded like a child's nickname. And so I chose Chip because Chip is technically short for Charles, and it sounds like a kid's name. So that was the reason for that. And the last name Zadarski was
is that how you say it?
Stolen.
Wait, say it again.
Zdarsky.
Zdarsky. Okay, got it.
Zdarsky.
Okay.
It was stolen from a friend's ex-girlfriend. I had a buddy who was dating this girl, and she was amazing. She was so funny and pretty, and he broke up with her over a really stupid reason. And we were also upset with him that I took her last name to memorialize the relationship and to constantly remind him of the one that got away.
Wow.
Which, yeah.
Amazing. So, do you have any actual nicknames?
Well, I've had a bunch over the years. For the paper, I was a financial expert named Todd Diamond.
That's
on
right.
The courts, on the courts, I'm Merman. In the clubs, I'm DJ Champagne. Is there any other ones? Steve Maxwell, when I need an alias. Yeah, I don't know. There's a few.
Yeah.
Lover.
That's between you and
Lover
I.
when I'm fighting, fighter when I'm loving. I don't know. It's weird.
Right. So you ran for mayor. You've done a bunch of stunts, but I wonder, because one of my favorite stories that you tell is when you created this thing called hang on a second, I want to find the graphic here because I think I need to do it justice here. You created Zadarski, right? Let me get these graphics working right. Explain Zadarski.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, explain Zadarski to us because I thought it was, again, all kidding aside, I thought it was brilliant. This is kind of when I fell in love with you as a person, and yes, I do call you lover. Because it just, I any kind of guerrilla marketing and stuff like this, I love this kind of stuff because, again, when I was starting my career, and Jimmy Palmiotti and I had started Event Comics, we were trying to do whatever. We didn't do anything quite as elaborate as Zadarski, but give us a little impression of what that was like, what it was actually.
Yeah, the more elaborate the fun, I find. So on the left is the first Zdarsky, which was it was a big comic convention in town in Toronto on like an August weekend, and I wasn't attending it, but I still wanted to to show myself, and so myself and some friends at a comic shop, we set up this. It was like a pedestal, and my friend in that shot, Alex, he would pull me along that pedestal. Where I had my plush leather seat, all of my comics for sale, and my recently won Eisner, which we bolted to a table, and we just set up across from the Comic Con, and you could come up and you could spin the Eisner, and purchase comics, and I do sketches for you in the blazing sun, and yeah, it was just a really nice time. It's nice to connect to fans on the street, I find. And
then these other shots in your room, was that a different Zadarskans, right? Tough
so
word.
A couple of years later, we wanted to go a little bit bigger, and so during that Comic-Con weekend, I announced that there's going to be another Zdarsky, and you have to line up on the street corner at a certain time. And so, like, tons of people, like 100 people or whatever, just lined up at this street corner. And then I had people bring up 5 people at a time to our fancy hotel suite, which we set up a Comic-Con within the hotel suite. And myself and a bunch of other comic creators had like bathrobes, and we just like kind of lounged on beds and took photos with people. And that shot there is like Brian Lee O'Malley, creator Scott Pilgrim, just doing little sketches for people. It was like generally one of the best days of my life, where I just got to hang out with my friends in this hotel room. And like, it's fantastic too, because like the problem is at a comic convention, they're so crowded, and like all you see are just people in front of you, and you feel like you can spend quality time with anyone. But with this, it was great because there's only ever 5 people in the room at the same time. And I had like friends like Ryan North and Marguerite Bennett and Ray Fox and Brian, and I think Stegman showed up at one point, but he was very confused by the whole thing and he left. You just got to hang out with readers and fans,
right.
And like.
Yeah, well, Stegman gets confused very easily, but 2 things of note with this is that number one, it's clear you like doing things in bed, so because you're essentially lazy. But the second thing is that you were definitely already ahead of your time, because this 5-person at a time thing, this is probably how large conventions will be working from now on. So I think you set a precedence here. Where you just, So I think you should take pride in that. But you brought up, your Eisner. And I'm going to guess that was for this little book right here, Sex Criminals, correct? Oh.
Yeah, that was the first Eisner, and that was for Best New Series, Sex Criminals with Matt Fraction.
But I guess I love how you dropped that, like it was the first Eisner. It's very coy of you. You know, look, I know you say it because you know that I've never won an Eisner. Never won an Eisner. So
you haven't?
No, never won an Eisner. I've been nominated.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
that's so crazy. It's crazy that I have, 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of where I've got 3 Eisners.
Well, folks, it's been fun having Chip on. All right. So I think we'll go back to Chip. Yeah. So all right. So tell us about now Sex Criminals. You teamed up with the person that would then become your buddy, Matt Fraction, correct?
Yeah.
And this book, so let's read the accolades here, right? So you won the 2014 Eisner, you won for Best New Series, you won the Harvey Award for the Best New Series, you were Time Magazine's Comic of the Year, and an even greater feather in your cap, you were banned from iTunes. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a bit of a year.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a year, and I was still working at the newspaper. So like,
Right.
there was a whole year where I was working at the newspaper and working on Sex Criminals, and all that was happening at the same time, which was quite the roller coaster. That photo of Matt and I was from our launch party, which was in an adult club for adults who enjoy getting together,
Right.
in a way that is more intimate than in usual clubs.
Why did Matt dress up?
And yeah, you can tell there Matt's very uncomfortable with the whole situation.
Yeah, I was gonna say he didn't dress up like Garfield.
No, I know, weird.
Was he your Odie? Was he your Odie to your Garfield?
He's more like my John, really.
All right, we gotta move on.
I don't mean that in a prostitution sense. I mean the character John.
All right, so
just so you know, yeah.
Now you also
so Sex Criminals. That all started because Matt and I were friends, like online. Like I loved his comics. He loved comics. And we would talk to each other a fair amount. And yeah, one day I'm just like, I just want to do something fun. I just want to do a comic. And I knew he was itching to do some new stuff. And we just did a music video together. And so I was like, we should just do something fun. And
you did a music video together?
The idea for Sex Criminals. What's that?
You did a music video together?
Yeah. There was a music station in New Jersey that, like a public station that we really like called WFMU. And this one show, The Best Show, they do a pledge drive every year. And they had a Toronto band, punk band, F'd Up, write a song for them. And Matt and I volunteered to do the music video. So Matt kind of wrote the script, directed it, and I did all the key artwork for it. And another guy animation of it. And so we knew we worked well together, and we shared a similar sense of humor. And he pitched me the idea for Sex Criminals, and I don't know how much I could divulge on here.
Yeah, I'd say let folks look it up. It's an adult book. Yeah.
He pitched the idea, and I'm like, well, this is exactly what I want to do, and no one's going to buy it. And he was like, yeah, no one's going to buy this. And we were pretty sure we were going to get canceled after 3 issues. But we just did it because that again, like the kind of the joy of comics, like doing them for yourself, and knowing even with a small audience, like, at least you're having fun. But yeah, it took off and kind of changed my career trajectory and Matt's really. It's a weird thing.
It was your first Eisner, your very first Eisner.
Was it? Sorry, it was my first one.
Yeah,
that was the first one. Yeah.
So
it wasn't the second, third. You're right.
Right. So now here's where we also crossed paths. In 2014, you won the Harvey.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. I was going to say we crossed paths because. Oh no, I was going to say because I've won 3 Eisners and you haven't, but that's not really crossing paths.
No, that's
like a divergence.
That's a.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
A big difference between us. I was going to say that in 2014, you somehow won a Harvey for the Best New Talent. I won a Harvey for Best New Talent. How about that?
Really? When?
Yeah. A long time ago.
When was that?
A long time ago.
Like, do you have a year?
I'm going to say, I don't have my Harvey with me here. I'm guessing it was probably 91, 92. Yeah.
Is the Harvey in your, like, awards room?
Yeah, just not in the studio, but it is. It is. I have it. Yeah. I really do. You can look it up.
You won that.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm sure you do. How old were you when you won that? How old were you when you won that?
30. How were you?
Okay. I was 38, which I thought was very funny as a new talent.
Well, I mean, I broke in late
old.
too. Yeah, I broke in late too. So not as late as
How
you did.
old were you for your first published work?
29, 30, 31.
Wow,
So
I had
29.
no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Well, what were you doing before that?
I was like experiencing the real world. Yeah, I was.
Oh,
I
okay.
wasn't. I
All right,
wasn't.
yeah.
I wasn't running for mayor. In a faux way.
Yeah,
I
you
was.
were
I was.
you were one of the elites.
Yeah, I was working real jobs. Now I was a musician for a while too, and stuff like that. So I've had a life, Chip. It hasn't all been comics. You only know. I only give you this much. Because I know what you'll do if I give you my whole heart. You'll break it. You'll just destroy it. So that's our second 1 degree of separation. Is the fact that that I have a Harvey too for best new talent. So let's move on from.
I've got like 4 Harveys. Go on. What was your next one?
You did Jughead. You did a book called Jughead.
Yes.
Yeah, there's Jughead. That's your book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you won an Eisner for this too, for the best humor publication.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but to be fair, that was a shared Eisner. So like, first Eisner, that was like a shared thing. Like I credit Matt more for that win.
Right.
And this one? Really his brilliant script that people loved. And on this one, the Eisner was for Jughead the series, and Ryan North and Derek Charm followed myself and Erica on it. So we all received that. And again, I think Ryan probably is the one that clinched that. So
right.
So
your Eisners are not fully yours. It's not just they're all collaboration. These first 2 at least.
Yeah, I consider them illegitimate.
I certainly do.
I'm happy to have them, but yeah.
Yeah, I get you. You get to spin
So
them. I have nothing to spin. So, so you did some great work at Archie and Jughead. You come to Marvel, and hang on, let me fix these graphics. I really was not expecting this from you, Chip. So you do this little book called Howard the Duck, and again, I think one of the fun things to get all serious on you, Chip. Again, you go on your own. And a lot of us creators, we take on social and we try to promote our stuff as best we can. You usually take it to a whole other level. Yeah. So I'm going to show you a little promotional video. Now you did this all on your own, right? This wasn't a Marvel production. This is you.
Yeah, it was just me and my brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could
probably skip past the opening part where I'm just like reading from a book.
No.
So that's boring. All right.
He rose from the water, his round body glistening in the evening sun, also known as moonlight. The water fell from him like water off a duck's back, because he was a duck. He strutted towards land where a beautiful young woman awaited him. "Isn't the water cold?" she purred. "Not with these feathers, doll," he barked sultrily. "Feathers," she crowed. "What if I'm allergic to feathers?" "Well, what if I'm allergic to not kissing you?" the duck said while winking way too much. Oh, hello. My name's Chip Zdarsky. You might recognize me from Image Comics Sex Criminals with Matt Fraction. But I'm not here today to talk about Image Comics Sex Criminals with Matt Fraction, available in comic shops everywhere. No, I'm here as the writer of Howard the Duck, the new comic series from Marvel Comics.
Sorry, what did you say there?
I'm here as the Howard the Duck, the comic that you're here to shoot a video of.
I'm pretty sure it's Howard.
No, I'm 100% positive it's Howard. I've never even met a Howard. I don't even know where you get that from.
I'm not sure if you're right on that. I'm pretty sure it's Howard.
Listen, Matt works on Satellite Sam with Howard Chaykin, right?
Howard.
So it's Howard. It's Howard. Howard the Duck.
Howard Shaken and Howard the Duck.
Listen.
Are you?
Listen.
Who here? Right now?
Who here is the writer of a major C-list Marvel character from Marvel Comics, home of the Avengers, the biggest grossing movie of like a couple years ago.
Listen, I'm telling you, it's Howard.
Listen,
Wrong.
you're here, you're hired to do a job, so just get back there, you camera monkey, and shoot this or you. Which camera do you want me to look in? Okay, yeah. Hello, my name is Chip Zdarsky. I'm the writer of Howard the Duck, the comic you're currently reading. I just want to thank you for purchasing and reading our story. We're very proud of it, myself and joined by artist Joe Quesada and the colorist Rico Renzi. So you know it's going to be a very spicy book you have in your hands. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you come back for issue 2. All right. Is that good? Are we done? I can do it again if you want, but no? All right, cool. Thanks.
Chip, that's heartwarming. It really is. Really heartwarming.
I look so young there.
You did. I mean, life has really taken a toll on you.
It comes fast, I find.
Yeah.
Comes fast.
It's you need to slow down, brother. This fast-paced Marvel life is draining you. So you have to.
Actually, you know what?
I've lived it.
That actually reminds me. What time is it? Just a second. Jessica. Sorry, I always forget at a certain time. I have. Jessica.
Say that again. You clipped out at a certain time. What?
Just a second. At a certain time, I got to take care of something.
No. Okay.
Just.
Oh, okay.
Not in the eyes. Thank you. All right, I love you. Sorry, I just need.
We good now?
I was just in bed all day, and I just need to moisturize, and Jessica takes care of that for me.
Yeah. You should drink more water. Maybe hydrate a little bit. You might find that helpful.
No, that's the last thing you should do.
Really? Okay.
No water. Very strict man. I've taken all my moisture through the skin.
Yeah.
So it's like my face is drinking the cream to make me feel young.
Okay. Speaking of... Yeah, never mind. It's good.
No, it's
so,
good.
All right. So let's get back on track here. Skip. I'm sorry, Chip. Let's get back on track here. So we're talking about Howard the Duck. So this is sort of your first foray into Marvel, right? And I mean, how does it feel now at this point? Because you've been working sort of in the indie ranks, right? On books that are not sort of mainstream, I guess you would say. At this point, how does it start to feel that you're sort of now at Marvel? You're not working necessarily on a mainstream character. You're working on a cult favorite. But are things feeling weird for you? Or are you kind of feeling like, wow, I'm kind of making it? Or in all seriousness, I mean, how does that feel for you, Steve? Skip.
Honestly, it just felt fun. Like I treated it like every issue was going to be my last because I kind of assumed I'd get fired or the book would get canceled right out of the gate, and so I just kind of threw in everything I wanted to see in the Marvel book. And have fun with it. And the nice thing about Howard the Duck is it is under the radar, so you can take liberties with characters that you wouldn't be able to do on a bigger book. And so I had there was no thought in my head that this could lead somewhere. Because again, I'm still drawing sex criminals as my regular gig. And doing this was just like super fun on top of that. Like getting to kind of tap into like the love of all those characters from when I was a kid. So yeah, it wasn't intimidating. It wasn't didn't feel like it was going to be a step to something. It was just I want to make a comic. I wanted to have fun doing it.
Yeah. And then
Howard, I'm in.
You started doing a bunch of stuff for us, but you also did Star-Lord for a bit. And I'm going to jump around because we have a ton of fan questions, and I want to get to those too. Because I think those are the ones where we really get to dig in deep to you. But Star-Lord, and then of course Peter Parker, Spider-Man, which again. You won an Eisner for best single issue, one shot, issue 310.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You also won a Schuster Award for best writer for Peter Parker and Marvel 2-in-1.
Okay.
Yeah. So people, I guess people like this kind of stuff that you're writing.
You know what? It's not for me to say. Awards don't mean anything. You know that better than anyone.
Yeah, I do.
Not having them.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's always been about the money, like the amazing money that I make from comics.
Yeah.
So I tend to not let the award stuff go to my head, because to be honest, sometimes you look at the winners of the awards and you're just like, well, that's not going to age well.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What, Tom King, best writer last year? Yeah,
I believe so.
Look back on that in 3 years and see how we feel about that, right?
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's an honor. It's an honor to get the award.
Right.
But,
okay. Let me just say this on camera. Chip's views are not my views. So Tom.
No.
I have nothing to do with this. This is all Chip. So anyway, back to you, Chip. So
yeah.
And again, I'm going to get all serious here, right? Because when you started working for us, and you were doing Howard the Duck and all the books prior to this, I'm thinking to myself, this guy doesn't take anything seriously. He's not here for the long haul. He's just some indie Eisner Award winning dude who's come in here, and then you write Spider-Man, and then you write Marvel 2-in-1. And I think it was in particular, like by the second issue of Marvel 2-in-1, where I was like, whoa, this guy has got something. And I think I sat down with you, and I know I slapped you. I may have punched you. I apologize for the punch, but the slap was a wake-up call saying, dude, you can make a career out, like a really serious career out of this. I wasn't encouraging you not to do the humor thing, I wasn't encouraging you not to spend the bulk of your day in bed, but I was trying to tell you that that this could be a really massive showcase for you with respect to not just do your creator own stuff. Man, you really have a voice for the Marvel characters, which really shines through in all your work.
In all seriousness, I remember after I think issue 1 came out, you sent me an email about it, and I think it was the first email I actually ever received from you, in which you talked about how, like, wow, I didn't expect this from you of all people.
Well, let again, we're serious.
It meant a lot. It meant a lot.
We're being serious here, but when I said I didn't expect this, what I meant was you were relatively new to the system, right? And so it takes someone, when they break into Marvel, it takes a good year, 2 years, 3 years before they really find that voice. And man, you just, like, very, very early on, you put a couple of issues under your belt, and you were on that road. I mean, the stuff was just, again, like I said, I think 2-in-1 in particular was the best I've felt. No offense to people that have written the Fantastic Four beforehand, but it was the closest to that feeling that I got when writers who really understood that family dynamic nailed it, and you got it right away. Especially Ben's voice, which you would think is easy to do, but it's really, really not. And that relationship with him and Johnny, I mean, just it was spectacular. It really, really was. So that's how I meant it. But now knowing you, I understand that I really actually, I'm thinking something else now too. Yeah, you really need to straighten your stuff out.
Okay, so first of all, the Ben stuff, I credit Tom Brevoort a lot. Okay. Tom, the editor on that, knows those characters so well. So he was really helpful in guiding the voice. Also, I always look at the Marvel books, Jughead, stuff like that, as they're each individual titles. And it's probably a bad career choice of mine to, like, adapt the voice for whatever I'm working on, because it doesn't actually really help me, build a fan base. Because, who read Jughead is like, oh, I gotta check out Daredevil. Like, it doesn't quite work that way. Right. And so, like, on Spectacular Spider-Man, like, I had a clear idea in mind where I wanted to start that off as, like, really light and goofy, and then just slowly kind kind of get serious as I kind of went through it, because I felt like, well, that's what that character's about. Like, there's so many variations of that character. You kind of want to tap into each of those iterations in the run. And then my final issue was like trying to hit all of them at once. And Marvel 2-in-1 was like that, because like Fantastic Four, like I feel like there's a very specific vibe to it, and I really wanted to try and nail that, even if it felt different from the Spider-Man stuff or Howard or Jughead. So yeah. Like I said, I don't know if it's wise of me as a creator, but
I think it is. I mean,
you feel you're beholden to the characters a little bit, and the tone of the title when you're on it.
Right. Well, no, it's nailing the voice is really the hardest thing to do, I think. But also, you have a history with Spider-Man, right? I mean, here you are in repelling you, right?
Yeah.
You know, this predates your time at Marvel, does it not?
It really, it does. Yeah, maybe a year before I did a Marvel book. Once again, I was working at the newspaper, and I became kind of like the dumb mascot for the paper, where they would send me to report on, like the air shows in town. Put him in a biplane.
Nice.
And in this case, or there's a nudist resort out of town. Send him to cover it. And so this was a case where they were doing like a charity thing where people could donate to Make-A-Wish and rappel down the building. And so I covered that. Yeah. And I insisted on doing it dressed fully as Spider-Man. Yeah. And it's a tall building. City Hall is not a small building.
It was like 300 feet, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. It's quite tall, and the side of it, there's no windows or anything. It's just like a straight drop. And I wasn't scared, but I had like an existential crisis halfway down.
Okay.
Because I couldn't see the people below, and I couldn't see the people above.
Oh, so you're on your own.
And I'd never actually experienced that, where you just kind of feel so lonely, trapped on the side of a building. It really made me understand Spider-Man on a deeper level, I think.
That's surprising, because I thought at least several times in your life you would have experienced like jaw clenching loneliness at some point. Yeah, and 300 feet up in the air, so which made that a little too right. So this was clearly good training then for your run on Daredevil. Character that's near and dear to my heart. But I remember. Hang on, I got these. I wasn't expecting to be laying where you are. Let me just move these graphics so they're not covering your face. There we go. Now we can see that. You can see that chippy smile. So I remember you pitching the Daredevil story in the writers' room, and you've had such a passion for this character. It seems like you were chomping at the bit to write Matt Murdock. So tell me a little bit about the run. What is it you love about Matt Murdock, and how we got here? And by the way, the cover's by Tedesco, who to me is the best cover artist in the business right now.
Oh, 100%. Like getting those covers every month is like a joy. Really helps set the tone. But I was champing at the bit. You're right, because when C.B. Cebulski came on board as editor-in-chief, he sent all the contract writers an email saying, "Let me know your dream projects in case they ever come up." He wanted to kind of know where everyone's head was at.
Right.
And mine was basically Daredevil. I surprised them. I think it surprised a few editors, because at that point, I'm kind of doing more goofy stuff. And when it came time to pitch it in the room, like I'd really gone deep on kind of bringing it back to being a darker book. Like Charles, who followed Mark Waid had a kind of a lighter touch, and Charles went a bit darker and more superhero-y, and I wanted to kind of bring it back to kind of the grittiness of the previous iterations. So I remember being in that writer's room and pitching it, and I was like, I think it was the first time I've actually been intimidated, like in regards to the Marvel stuff, because in that room, it's Charles, it's Waid, and it's you, like three people who are like so linked to that character, and I was like, I gotta nail this, or else I'm toast. I'm toast in the room. And I remember that pitch, delivering it seriously, and I felt like half the room was a little stunned that I pitched something serious.
Yeah.
And but what I recall the most is like great discussion after the pitch as to whether or not what I was doing was right for the character. And a lot of people weighing in on both sides. And I kind of realized at that point, like, that's a sign of a pitch that's good, that's going to work when there's questions in the room.
Well, yeah,
like,
when people are passionate.
You and I have both been in that. Yeah, you and I have both been in that room where someone pitches something and everyone around goes, great job. That sounds great, fun. And then you move on. Yep. And that to me feels like death. That's like, oh. Like, I've also seen the opposite where it's like everyone piles on. That sucks.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, you generally, if it's an idea that's hated by everybody, then you kind of probably shouldn't do it. But if it's an idea that causes debate, right? And it makes certain people's hackles just go up a little bit because they're uncomfortable, then you're onto something. You may have to tweak it. You may have to you may have to massage it a little bit. I hate saying that word when you're sitting in bed like that, but no,
you're right. You just have to massage it.
Yeah, and then but you're onto something. So and quick question though, you have not won an Eisner for Daredevil, have you?
No, because it hasn't been eligible yet. So the Eisners will be announced shortly.
Right.
So who knows? No. Okay. I forget. I may have sent them a letter saying, "Don't nominate me again," because it's getting a little much.
You're losing track.
So if it comes out and I'm not nominated, that means I probably sent that letter.
Got it.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get nominated for Daredevil.
Daredevil's my favorite title because the runs on it are either legendary or forgettable. Like, it's such a insular, it's its own thing where you live or die on that title. Like, working on Spider-Man was actually easy because it's Spectacular Spider-Man. It's not the main book. There's always so many Spider-Man projects around. You can kind of name 3 or 4 Spider-Man creative teams that really, stand the test of time. But for the most part, it's very much based on like a heavy rotation of like artists on the title, stuff like that. Whereas Daredevil is very much like, you think of runs, you think of like you and Kevin, like as a team. You think of Bendis, Malieve, Brubaker, Lark, Wade, Samney, like those are defined by their teams. And like having Marco on this book. This saved me. Absolutely.
Well, you're doing a great job.
It's an intimidating title.
Yeah. Look, I mean, when you look at, I mean, you forgot to mention Frank Miller. I mean, it all starts really with Frank. I mean, that run he did sort of set the bar. And you're working on a couple of projects right now. I mean, X-Men Fantastic Four, and Life Story. Life Story, which again is a really unique project. You want to talk a little bit, really briefly about both of these?
Yeah, so it's a pitch I've had kicking around for a little while, and nobody bit until Tom Brevoort did, which is my original pitch was examining the Marvel Universe as if time moved realistically.
Right.
Like, and I know maybe the audience doesn't know that, the Marvel Universe is on a sliding timeline. So Peter Parker will always, stay 28, 27. So we don't end up with senior citizen superheroes. But the interesting thing about Spider-Man is he aged in real time when he started. Mm-hmm. Like, you remember the Ditko early issues of him as like this, awkward 15-year-old. And then, Romita, a senior, making him kind of like a hunky college guy. Right. Like, there was a progression of age, and they put the brakes on it, which was a very smart move, or else we'd be dealing with like an 80-year-old Spider-Man right now. But the question is always there, like, well, what if these characters actually had aged in real time? What if that idea had continued? So this was kind of a weird project where Tom Brevoort, the editor, was wise, and he said, let's focus on Spider-Man. Because if you just do the whole Marvel Universe, like, it's going to be impossible. And he's absolutely correct. So we sat down, we broke it down into the decades, and I reread all of Amazing Spider-Man to highlight all the important aspects of each decade that I needed to bring across in this. Mm-hmm. And then I had another timeline, like what the characters' ages would be based on their first appearances, and another timeline about world events and how we tie those in. So it was weirdly a logic puzzle. And once we figured out the logic of it, then it became like a huge narrative challenge to kind of like tell a decent story that hit all these points.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a huge undertaking. And people seem to like it, which was great. Like, because you don't know when you're working on it if it's working or not. And when people tell you it is, it's like, okay, I don't need the validation, but in this case, I kind of did because I had no idea. I was too close to it. But yeah, it was a super fun book, and they let me design the cover and on the individual cover, so it felt like I had a handle on the package. And they brought in Mark Bagley on the art, who is like one of the best in the business and arguably the best modern Spider-Man artist.
Mark is fantastic.
With the most ties to that character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it was just a dream to work with everyone on the book. And to have it be its own thing, like it's 6 issues, it's its own volume. Sometimes a story doesn't need to continue for 400 issues. You can just tell a story straight out of the gate. I really enjoyed that one.
And what about Fantastic Four and X-Men?
Yeah, so when I was on Marvel 2-in-1, I got pulled into a side office at some point at one of the retreats, and I was told that the Fantastic Four were coming back. And Dan Slott was going to be writing it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then Dan told me everything he had planned, and I told him everything I had planned in Marvel 2-in-1, just so we could figure out a spot for me to kind of leave the characters so Dan could do what he needed to do. So the question was, do we continue Marvel 2-in-1? And I said no, because I don't think Fantastic Four necessarily needs the secondary book. But Tom, again, the editor, he put a bug in my ear. He's just like, we want you to do more Fantastic Four stuff. Maybe a quarterly special, things like that. I'm like, I don't know, maybe, whatever. But then I heard Jonathan Hickman's X-Men pitch. You were in the room for that, right?
I sure was, yep.
The best pitch. Like,
crazy.
We talked earlier about, those writer retreats where the ideas that create the questions are the most interesting ones. Mm-hmm. That was all questions. Like everyone had a question, and every time someone posed a question, John would just point at them and go, "That's a book. That's a book. That's a book." Like so many ideas spinning out of it, and I fell in love with it right away. And I knew about the Franklin stuff in House of X in the first issue, and I'm like, well, that's the question, and he's answering. And I was such a fan of that original mini, the Fantastic Four X-Men mini.
Yeah.
John Bogdanove and Chris Claremont, Terry Austin. Like Bogdanove, he was great when he went to DC into Superman, but like his drawings of Franklin Richards are the ones that have always stuck with me as like the ideal drawings of kids.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like if you look back at those issues, like there's such a joy and like just a light touch. Because I was kind of used to at the time seeing John Byrne's Franklin Richards.
Right.
Like John Byrne's kids always kind of a bit of an adult quality to them. Whereas Bogdanove, like they were kids. And it's such a heartwarming story.
I'll have to go back and look at it. I don't.
Yeah. It's worth a reread. It's actually my favorite miniseries I think Marvel's ever done. Like it's a tight 4 issues. And Claremont examining Fantastic Four for the first time was super interesting as well, considering all he'd done on X-Men. Anyways, I love that miniseries, so I realized, that's what we need to do, Fantastic Four X-Men mini. But that's a headache. Like I'll say that right up front, like because it was a Fantastic Four book in Tom's office, so I had to get Tom's buy-in, I had to get Dan's buy-in, then we had to also get Hickman and Jordan, the editor on X-Men, their buy-in. So I had to run this by everyone, and the funny part is, when I showed them what I wanted to do. The notes I got back from Hickman, which I was dreading because he's so smart, were all Fantastic Four notes.
That's funny.
Because he'd written Fantastic Four for years, so of course he knows the characters really well. He's like, I think Reed would probably do it more like this, and Doom would be like this. I'm like, oh yeah, good notes. So yeah, there were a lot of hurdles with this title, but they brought Terry Dodson and Laura Dodson on board, and Laura Martin. So it was like on the art, it's like a dream team.
Yeah.
And,
well, I'll have
it was a lot of fun juggling all those characters.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to sit down and read your books because I hear you're kind of good. I hear you're good. So I'll add your stuff to my reading pile. So Chip, I think now it's time for Q&A. I will tell you, you have received. I usually send out a tweet and a message on Facebook. Anybody have any questions for our upcoming guests, please drop them in under the thread. And I have to say, you got more questions than anyone. I mean, more than Donnie Cates. So congratulations.
Oh God, no.
Congratulations.
No, that's going to eat at him. That's going to drive him crazy. No. Edit the video.
Donnie's fine. So, but again, I mean, the passion that fans have for you as a person, you as a creator. Their questions they go deep, man. So let's start with the first one. Okay, let's see. Our first question here is from Jamie McKelvey. No thanks. Good luck though. Okay, sorry about that, Chip. That was. Let's see. Next question from Mike Pellerito. Thoughts and prayers.
That's the publisher of Archie Comics. So
yeah,
he understands.
Right. I wish you would have warned us about this before we hired you. Let's see. Radical Spider-Man. Chip. Why?
It's a question I get a lot. Well, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Aditya P. Can Chip say hi to me? Also, would he ever want to work on a Nightwing story?
First of all, yeah, I'll say hi to you for $25 on Cameo. Check it out. Zdarsky/cameo.net. Work on Nightwing. He's got the best butt in comics. So we're trying to obviously make Daredevil be the best butt in comics. Okay. But I don't predict a Nightwing series for me.
Yeah. Cool, fair enough. Let's see. Earth 616 Survivor. Just one question. Will you be auctioning off that tasty pic of you in the pool showing off that butt to give to COVID-19 first responders? If so, here's $50 right now. Anyone beat that?
It's for charity, so yeah. So I mean, we could just do it live right now if you want.
Yeah. Hang on. All right. Well, Chip is showing auctioning off whatever it is he's auctioning. Chip, can we come back to you, Chip? Okay. All right. Let's see. All right, we're back. All right. These questions aren't panning out the way I was hoping they would. Let's see who we have here. Ryan Stegman. When did Chip realize that he just wasn't cut out for a career in comics?
I guess when I couldn't quite secure my fourth Eisner. Ryan Zero Eisner Stegman.
I took that one personally too. Let's see. Comic Fred. Zdarsky. Who's currently the best writer at Marvel right now? And why is it Donny Cates?
Donnie's good. I'll give him that. I'm actually really, really enjoying Thor.
Nice.
Yeah,
but he didn't get as many questions as
Is he the best? Is he the best writer?
It's not for me to say. He's asking you.
That's true. No. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, maybe Donnie's the best. I don't know. Maybe he is the best.
All right.
I'm big enough to admit it.
He should clip that video segment and run it. Okay, from Rob Hackney. What was it like growing up being named after Punisher's sidekick? Did it make you want to get into comics more or punishing? It's a deep question.
Comics is punishment, so it's kind of a twofer.
Okay, fair enough. J. Michael Trotman. Chip, this is a two-parter. What's your favorite kind of specific cheese? Many places make cheddar, guy. And are you a front-to-backer or a back-to-fronter? Thanks.
Okay, well, so my favorite cheese is a prima donna, which is a kind of a crumbly, crystallized cheese. So quite nice. I'm a I'm a front to backer. Like, everyone knows that. Like, who's the back to fronter?
God.
That's insane. I don't want to get into graphic details, but that's a madness.
Yeah. Yeah.
For men and women. Women especially. That's a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
These are great questions. I'm glad you screened them. I think that's an important part of the process.
Oh, yeah. I curated this. This is all curated by me. Okay. So, where did you find that picture of Chip? Also, have you two collaborated on a project? I think he's referring to, Danny X is referring to this picture of you, Chip. How old were you there, Chip?
Yes, that's me at the newsroom. That was 3 years ago. I must be 31 there.
No. And you're, what, 53 now?
Yeah, give or take a decade.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so have we ever collaborated on anything?
Oh.
No.
We haven't.
No. No, I can firmly say we have not. No, we have not. Let's move on.
I mean, I would.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Sure.
Let's move on. Move on. All right. So, Bibidum, this Spider-Man, do you all think he's a threat or a menace?
Okay, that's a great question. He's more of a menace than a threat, I think.
Okay.
Menace indicates that he's kind of like he's constantly in it. Threat just makes it feel like he's about to be in it, but he's constantly in it.
Well, you could be a threat without even being. You could be a menace without being in the room. No, you could be a threat without being in the room. You could be a threat. You have to be in the room to be a menace. Just a little bit of you could use that, Chip.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of my proudest moments working on Spider-Man was creating J. Jonah Jameson's blog, threatormenace.biz. I was very proud of that.
Good for you. Michael Nicosia, how does Chip deal with the success of creating Arachnid Hero?
Look, I mean, first of all, for people that don't know, several years ago, I did a print. Do you know, like at flea markets or wherever, like you get like knockoff action figures?
Sure, yeah.
Like things that just like it's not quite Spider-Man, it's not quite Batman.
It's not legal?
I created a character and sold a print of a character called Bat Hero, which is basically like that. And I drew up one called Arachnid Hero.
When was this?
And 6 years ago, maybe. Which was not legally Spider-Man. I'm going to say that right now to the EVP creative director of Marvel Entertainment. And also I did not sell any of the Arachnid Heroes because, I don't know, I just felt bad for Marvel.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Chip, this is from Radical Spider-Man again. Chip, which of Peter Parker's love interests is your favorite?
Well, I grew up on Mary Jane. So, like, instinctually, it's Mary Jane. But it's Aunt May. Aunt May is where his heart lies. It's not romantic.
No.
But
it's too bad we don't have Steve Wacker on here, because Steve Wacker, during one of our episodes, talked about how the most important character in the Marvel Universe is Aunt May. And going back to Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah, I don't agree with him at all. But, you guys have common ground. So Aunt May.
He's a controversial figure. Steve Wacker. But I think Aunt May is like kind of what keeps Peter Parker grounded.
No, listen,
from
your point of view, I actually agree. I can see that.
Yeah.
If you looking at the larger term love interest, right? As someone who he loves and a constant, Aunt May, will always be there. The way Steve was just stupid. It was and by the way, the only reason Steve is controversial is because he's stupid, right? He says something really, really dumb, and it becomes controversial. He's not trying to be controversial. He's just dumb. All right. From Peter Kelly.
Fails upward, that guy. Just fails upward.
Unbelievable. So Peter wanted me to start out, with the basics. How dare you, Chip? Then maybe what happened to make you like this? And then finally, with two well-respected Spider-Man runs under your belt, do you have any more wall-crawling stories waiting to be told?
I refuse to answer the first two questions. They're insulting. I mean, it's possible. I love Spider-Man. I love telling stories. I think the biggest mistake any creator can make is to jump at a title because it's offered to them without actually having the story and the passion to do that story.
Right.
So there's no blanket no, but it's also like, well, if there's an idea and if I have something and Marvel wishes to publish it, then yeah, for sure. You know, I'm quite happy.
Right. Would that possibly? Did you submit that to the Eisners too?
I mean, I also don't submit, so who knows? It's up to the fans to submit.
No, it's not.
We'll see.
The fans don't submit it.
Oh no?
No.
Then how do I win so many?
Creators and publishers,
understand.
I believe, submit the books.
Oh.
So,
Okay, so I guess it's up to you as a Marvel,
I'm not submitting anything.
as a bigwig of Marvel Comics to submit little old me.
No.
I'll share it with you when I win it.
Nope. Sorry.
Joe?
Let's move on.
No. Right.
Let's see. If you were told you couldn't do Spider-Man, use Spider-Man in Life Story, what character would you have used?
My original pitch, when it was going to be the full Marvel Universe, I was going to follow two characters. It was going to be Wolverine and Mr. Fantastic. Wolverine because he doesn't age, so it'd be interesting to see things change around him. And Mr. Fantastic, just to see the progression of science. But yeah, like I think Daredevil is actually an interesting one. Captain America is kind of the go-to because we touched upon him in Spider-Man Life Story. I mean, it'd be a hard one to do, just kind of politically. Like, you know, even me just kind of having him in Vietnam and his reaction to Vietnam. Like, I felt like, okay, you got to be pretty careful with this. But I think a better writer than me would be up to the challenge of Captain America.
Okay. So let's see. We got a question here from Aaron Dwyer. I just want Chip to know that his con banner is genius and will never be topped. I believe Aaron is talking about this bad boy right here. Yeah. That was basically I had one day to come up with a banner, and I just took a photo of my face. Right.
And it's just magic, because you know that's the thing. People kind of pussyfoot around their con banner, like, oh, do I put everything I've ever worked on it? Like, do I make it really simple and elegant? And I'm like, no, people need to know how to find me. I need my name. I need my face. That's what the people are there for.
It's the moneymaker. It's the moneymaker, dude.
Yeah, exactly. You understand. You're a handsome man.
Yeah, thank you. I noticed you have a significantly less gray in that shot.
Maybe I photoshopped it or something, but I've always been gray. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, okay, fair enough. Right. Okay. So Peter Melanch here, he sends this question to every guest. This is the last time I'm going to use it. Have you ever been in a submarine, Chip?
I've been in a subway to eat sandwiches.
Got it. And then he asks again, also, you're looking like a hunk in that batter, Chip. Hubba hubba. So some kind words there from Peter for you.
That's nice. That's really nice.
It's nice to be loved, isn't it? Okay. When can we expect the conclusion of Sex Criminals? Oh, sorry. This is a thread only about joke questions. Okay. What's your second favorite chip? Chocolate silicon, cow, mint chocolate. Let's deal with the second part first. What's your favorite chip?
All right. So my favorite would actually be when I was in Prince Edward Island a couple years ago. I got what are called cow chips, which is just potato chips covered in chocolate.
Okay.
And it's a disgusting term because it basically means the poop of a cow.
Yeah.
But individually chocolate covered potato chips.
Right.
Wow, that's heaven.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm sorry, what was the first question?
And when do you expect the conclusion of Sex Criminals?
Oh, Yeah, so issue 29 is at the printer. I got the script for issue 30, and issue 31 is our final one. So
Yeah.
real soon, real soon.
Awesome.
It's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be
Right.
a tough one to let that one go.
So let's see. Traveling tech guy, Chip. Do a lot of people confuse you and Matt Fraction? I mean, based on this.
Sure, there are various points where we're exactly the same age, with probably the same amount of gray in our beards. When he grows his. But the funny thing I've noticed is since I started doing a lot more writing, a lot of people now think on Sex Criminals that I'm the writer and this guy Matt Fraction is the artist. So that's got to drive him crazy to be associated with my terrible art.
Hi, Matt. How are you? You always watching. Let's see here. Okay, Orcon. I'm glad you finally shaved your beard, dyed your hair, and used the anti-aging cream on your face. I guess that's alluding to that to your promo shot that I used.
Oh, hopefully, yeah.
My question for Mr. Zdarsky. What is ice hockey? Is it I'm gonna position you and Matt invented for sex criminals, or is it some kind of Canadian survival instinct? Thanks.
This is the saddest thing you'll ever learn about me. I'm a Canadian and I've never played hockey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But
I've been to one hockey game.
Right. It doesn't surprise me you've never played hockey.
I went to one hockey game. It was back when I was touring my indie comics, and a friend had arranged at this local hockey game to have it announced at the hockey game that I would be signing up the Rad Zone that weekend. And it made me feel like a real sports legend to have my fake name announced in a hockey arena.
Did you wear a jersey?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't have a jersey. That's crazy.
It's a shot. I took a shot. Let's see. All right. Radical Spider-Man again. You must team up with another Marvel employee in order to defeat the tremendous tag team that is Ryan Stegman and me. Who do you appoint to be the Batman to your Robin? Yes, you are Robin.
I would just probably pick any random editor who would just be like, "Why are you guys so late on your drawings?" And you just be like, "Oh, but I'm working," and then you just crumble. Oh. Editors have that power over all of us.
Well, yeah, you're kind of right about that one.
Yeah.
All right, you win. You win this round, Zdarsky. Let's see. Yeah. Did I ask this one right? Okay, yeah. I do like that you're Robin, though. That was a great touch. Mark Maris. Mark Maris. If you could write another limited series, but on a minor character, who would you like to write? That's a good question. It's a very serious question. There you go. That's my Chippy. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Here's a minor character I'd love to write. Batman. I consider him to be a minor character. Don't you?
To my friends at DC, I apologize for Chip's remarks. Let's move on. All right. Did I ask this one? Oh, no. Wait, I'm way beyond this. Way beyond this. Hang on a second. I lost my place. See what you do to
Come on.
Good question. Did you find transitioning from working from a newspaper to working on comics to be a tough one?
No, because newspapers train me on daily deadlines, usually hourly deadlines. Like, all the news happens in the middle of the day, and you got to figure out a thing for like 6 o'clock for the first press. So I was taught to be fast doing that job, but I was also taught to be concise. Because my first editor at the newspaper, when I was like kind of pitching joke stuff, they would just send it back to me and be like, "What are you doing? Like, you don't have 3,000 words to tell this joke. Like, you got 30 to keep their attention." And so really, at first I was like, "What? My words are all precious jewels. How dare you?" But then I was like, "Oh no, they're right. Like, you have to really pare stuff down and be able to throw stuff out quickly and easily to make it a better story." So the newspaper training was like just perfect for comics, frankly.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that about the newspaper, because it immediately brings to mind the fact that when I started reading your work, I was, again, one of the bigger problems that younger writers come in, or new writers coming in have, is that they're very verbose, right? You never know exactly how many words are going to fit into those balloons. But I noticed that you were very good from the start, and also Ethan Sachs, one of our other writers, was very good at the start. And what you both have in common is you have years of journalism behind you, and in newspapers, you got to keep it brief, so that the art of brevity just sort of came to you because you'd had that literally instilled in you from your previous job. So it's interesting you say that, but I noticed it in your work too, and I didn't make the connection between you and Ethan until now, because he's a better writer, but it's a whole other thing.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah. Ethan is actually quite an amazing writer. I will say too that what helped me transition into writing for Marvel, because Marvel's the first time I wrote for another artist, was on Sex Criminals. I'm the artist and the letterer. So it was my job to get Matt's words into those boxes. Mm-hmm. So I was very conscious of the space and conscious of how much you could fit, because Matt's a very experienced writer. So it was that Matt's script.
Matt writes that book?
Oh. Yeah, he's a very accomplished writer. I know.
Oh, I thought he was. Okay. Dry. Okay. Here's an easy one. Boxers or briefs? This comes from Pete.
Boxer briefs. Best of both worlds.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. A.G. Northrop. Emma Frost versus Todd Diamond. Who wins? Todd Diamond, your financial advisor.
Character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did a series of videos for the National Post called Finance Sense, where I played a down-on-his-luck financial expert giving advice, even though he clearly has not experienced any success on his own. You'd think it would be Emma Frost that would win that one, but I think Todd would worm his way into her heart, and she'd be broke within months.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, AJ. Let's see. Carla of Hoffman. Ask Chip if he's a writer who draws or an artist who writes.
I'm a lover who lives.
I knew you were going to say that.
A lover who lives.
I knew you were going to say that. I've heard it many times. All right. Let's get serious here. So, why Applebee's? You want to explain this to those who don't know?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is really more than Sex Criminals, more than anything, more than Zadarski, more than running for mayor. This is what brought you to prominence. This is what brought you to the attention of Marvel. This is really what put the chip in Zdarsky.
Yeah, it was strangely enough, it was right around maybe issue 3 or 4 of Sex Criminals. So my hometown Applebee's, they have a Facebook page, as most hometown Applebee's have, which had only 20 people like it, and 2 of them were my parents. And so in my Facebook feed, a photo of a burger posted by Applebee's of Barry, and just my dad going, "Looks great." And that was it. So every day I'd get another one of these.
Right.
And eventually I just decided to join in, and I just started commenting on all their photos and their updates, because they were very earnest, and whoever was the social media manager just kind of played along as if I'm just some dummy who just loves Applebee's. And so I had these really polite interactions with this local Applebee's, where it's just the Applebee's and myself just going back and forth with the odd person interjecting. And I would just post them online, and then BuzzFeed picked it up and did a whole article on it. And next thing I knew, my phone was just it was off the hook. It was crazy. It was one weekend where I did an interview on NPR. I was interviewing Australian radio about it, magazines. I've never experienced anything like that. And it was great timing too, because I actually had made a comment on one of the variant covers of Sex Criminals about being the guy who talks to Applebee's. That was before the BuzzFeed thing, but then the comic came out during that and just sold out right away.
Wow.
And then people now, after that, people bring me Applebee's menus to sign at comic conventions. which I don't encourage because that is theft.
That's theft. Yeah, it's theft. But
also
you know, I listen. I want you to know that this is your third brush with me. Boy, I wouldn't agree. I don't. Yeah. So you know, in New York, at the Queensboro Mall, there's an Applebee's, and on that Applebee's they have they have wallpaper, decorative wallpaper, and part of the decorative wallpaper is a map of Long Island and Queens and stuff like that, and luminaries that have come from that area. So here you go, Chip. That's me on the wall.
Wow.
Right next to Jackie Robinson.
That's amazing.
Is that? And so up until your shenanigans, I was Applebee's favorite comic creator, comic luminary.
I don't think my photo was up in an Applebee's though.
Well, not then.
Internet virality comes and goes.
I guarantee.
But a photo on an Applebee's wall
you go to your local
forever.
You go to your local Applebee's now. I bet you there's a photo of you up there. So I had one thing. You had Eisner's. I had one thing over you, Zdarsky. One thing, and you took it from me.
Well, you're a much better artist than I am.
That's true.
I think we can agree on that.
That's true.
The funny thing about the Applebee's, at the end of all of it, that local Applebee's contacted me and said, "We'd love to have you come into the restaurant," because that page went from like 20 likes to like 20,000 in a weekend. Like, we'd love to have you come in. We'll give you a free lunch on us. And then the mayor of the town was like, I would love to join you for that. I'm there. And I had to make the decision as to whether or not I wanted to like drive an hour and have a meal that I didn't want with a man I didn't know. And I was like, no, it's okay.
Wow.
We'll just let it go.
Well, considering all the stuff you would do for press, it's crazy that you said no to that. All right, we got to wind it down.
If I'd known there was a photo of you on the wall.
Not of that one. You have to go to Queens.
There's a photo of you on the wall. I'd go.
Well, when you're in New York, we'll take a trip to Queens when we're able to, dine in, and I'll take you. I actually have that was sent to me by a buddy of mine who literally sat at that booth and went, "What the heck?" So I had no idea it was there. But thank you to the Applebee's at the Queens Center Mall. Let's get to some Daredevil questions.
You haven't been there yet?
No. I mean, I used to go to the Queens Center Mall when I was a kid. My high school was right near there, but I've never been to that Queens Center Mall. No. I mean, not since I got
You've got to go. You've got to go.
What am I? I'm going to go. Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to that Applebee's and say, "Can I have that booth right there and sit next to my photograph?" That's exactly the kind of thing I would do. Thank you, Chip.
I'd do it. I know.
Well, clearly you wouldn't, because you wouldn't even sit with the mayor of your local Applebee's.
True.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get to some serious Daredevil questions here. First, this is really nice. This is from Naomi. The first comic I bought in my life is your current Daredevil run. I'm loving it so far. My question is, what was the inspiration for this story? Thanks for sharing it with us. And
that's really nice.
Very nice of much.
Yeah, that's super sweet. Inspiration is basically all of Daredevil. Like, kind of reading the book up until my run starts, and trying to figure out where next to go with the character. And I did a lot of research on violence. I read books about violence. I read a lot of books about crime in New York, because I wanted to explore what effect that violence has on the Marvel Universe, on the lower level, and on Matt Murdock himself. Because a lot of these stories, like superheroes, revolve around kind of law and justice, but there's an element of violence there. And I wanted to explore repercussions of that, not just like, oh, I punched this guy and now he's in prison. Having Matt Murdock deal with those repercussions, I think, was super important for the series. So yeah, that was a big one. And obviously, I also love the Netflix show. I think a lot of that probably subconsciously creeped into the run as well. And yeah.
Cool.
Good old Daredevil.
I was involved in that show, right?
Yeah, I heard it's a grapevine.
Okay. Just wanted you to know. Even that I was influencing you. You had no idea, but I was influencing you.
Like a puppet master from afar.
Yes. So, Katie Bryant, will you ever give Daredevil a sweet beard so he can finally stop the hell of shaving his sensitive skin every day?
A beard also has its own challenges. The stubble, all of it. Like there is no good solution for a face that doesn't involve the sensation on your face. I find
it takes a lot of work.
So I think it'd be worse for Matt Murdock to have a beard where food and stuff gets trapped in it, and he's just smelling that all day.
Yeah.
I like it as little treats,
but
yeah,
it's disturbing when you do that, especially during the writers' conference. It's kind of gross. Okay, let's see. We got a few more here. How long will you stay on Daredevil, and will you ever do another life story for another character? I think you kind of. Well, actually, no, you didn't answer that last one. But how long are you going to stay on Daredevil?
Yeah. I'll stay on it until I think the stories I'm doing aren't up to the standard that I want them to be.
Cool.
Like, I love the character, and I love that you can kind of go in various directions with it. And I've said this in a lot of interviews where Ann Nocenti, John Romita Jr. is probably my favorite actual run.
I love that run
because she deviated so much from what Frank Miller laid down, and just took Daredevil to all sorts of new places and situations. And then that about the character you can do that with. So as long as I have the ideas, I want to stay on it as long as I can. Cool. Yeah. And as for the life story, I don't. After Spider-Man Life Story came out, there were some talks about me doing more, but I kind of put the kibosh on it because I'm just like, it's a ton of work, and I kind of want to read it. I don't want to write. I want to read it. I want to read Tanner Hesse's Captain America Life Story, Al Ewing's Hulk Life Story.
Right. You're adverse to hard work, so I could see you saying that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But but I always forget about hard work until I start doing a thing. So I don't know it's hard work until it's basically done. Yeah. I've tricked myself once again.
You're adverse to hard work, and you have a short-term memory, so it's a double-edged sword there.
You know what? So. I have often said that to be successful in comics, you have to have what I call a short-term emotional memory. You have to forget the feeling of working on a thing. Because whenever I finish drawing an issue of Sex Criminals, I'm just that almost killed me. I can't imagine doing it again. And a week later, I'm reading a new script. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Right.
You just forget, the late nights and, the doubts. It's horrible.
Yeah. Let's see. From Gaseous Clay. Why haven't you and Chip collaborated on a Daredevil story? And what would it take to make that happen? I'm going to answer this one, Chip. I'm going to answer this one. Because I think it's become evident to the fans, and your non-fans that are watching this show. You probably lost fans doing this show. I hate to say it. You just, you didn't come across very well on this episode. But I'm going to say no. No, we're not going to collaborate because I don't think you take it seriously. I think, just look at you in bed, right? This whole interview, everything is jokey, Chip, right? Because that's what you think people expect that. Daredevil's a serious character, right? Look at my shirt. Look at my shirt. I live Daredevil all day long, right? You have anything Daredevil there in that room? Right? Look at this. This is my hat. You're comic. No, I live and breathe Daredevil. Okay, look here. Let me ask you this. Here. Look. This is my bathroom. This is the bathroom to my studio. It's Matt Murdock.
Well, that's just confusing.
The whole bathroom.
That's just confusing to people.
It's a Daredevil bathroom, okay? Do you have a Daredevil bathroom, Chip? Do you take it that seriously? No.
I mean, I go to the washroom with the lights off.
Yeah. If you could prove to me, Chip, because I even think the fan base doesn't take it. I think it's a jokey fan base. I mean, you see all these questions we're getting. I don't think you've changed. So I mean, I'd love to work with you. But to do Daredevil takes a level of seriousness. What?
Over the last. How long have I been in Marvel now? 5 years? Over the last 5 years, I think that I have matured into a serious writer. I think my work on Daredevil right now has shown that I can handle complex, mature themes. Yes, I'm in bed right now, but that's just the that's just a sheen. That's like a funny sheen. But like the core, and you've got to know this, the core of me is actually quite serious and methodical. And like I think if I did a thing with you, it would be serious, and a deep look into the life of a character.
Okay, I guess I'm just afraid that if we worked together on something and it was Daredevil, that it would just be like like the fan reaction would be like jokey, not taking it seriously and stuff like that. And I don't know if that would change.
I wouldn't let you down that way. I don't think. No, okay. Absolutely not.
All right. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about it. But I do have a Daredevil bathroom. So all right, let's get to our last question here. Let's see. This is from Brady. Can Daredevil smell the inside of his body all the time?
Oh yeah, it's like all farts. Like Daredevil's just like his whole thing is just like farts all day long. Like he knows before he's about to fart. He knows everything leading up to that because he can smell that. Because there's just enough of an opening. You know what I'm saying? To really, to boop boop. His senses are just like off the charts. Because the world stinks to him, and he stinks to him. And I would absolutely explore that if I could with the great Joe Quesada.
Chip, thank you. I actually have one more question for you. When are you going to do more drawing? When are you going to do more drawing for us?
I don't know. When are you gonna offer me something?
No, I remember some of the first stuff you drew for us. You were I remember it was the first time I actually saw you really nervous and kind of insecure. And I thought it was great. I think again you're a double threat. You're not a triple threat. How would you be a triple threat? You're a double threat in comics. You could write,
dance,
and you could
draw. But I would love to draw more. With Sex Criminals wrapping up, my schedule's gonna be a lot more free. Like I drew like a 4-page thing in Daredevil in issue 1, and that was like, I love drawing that character as well. So if I could do a little Daredevil thing, that'd be amazing. Yeah, but I'd rather write it for you to draw. But
I really should read your Daredevil.
That's happening.
I hear it's okay. Your Daredevil. I should really. Chip, dude, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On a Tuesday late afternoon, I'm glad you were able to drag yourself up a little bit to join us. And I hope this gave fans a real sort of inside look, probably more than they ever wanted, of Chip Zdarsky. Dude, thank you so much, man.
I'm here for you.
I know you are. Much love. Yeah. Lots of love.
All
right, man. I'm gonna say goodbye, and I'm gonna say goodbye to here we go. Thank you, Chip. That's awesome. All right, man. All right. We'll talk later. And
all right, thanks, Joe.
All right, say bye to the fans too. They stuck around with you. Say bye.
Yeah. Thanks, fans.
All right, yeah. And there we go. There goes Chip. He's gone. All right, gang. So thank you again. Please go to eBay, Hero Initiative, and check out the auction for my I Am Captain America COVID piece. I call it Florence after Florence Nightingale. But now we can talk about next issue, my next guest. We've had some timing issues because of the different part of the world he lives in. So I got Olivier Coipel coming on Friday. It'll be my first actually pre-recorded show because of the time difference. So Olivier and I will tape it. So I'll be posting a questions thread because we won't be able to do live questions. So stick around for that. That'll be on Friday. I'm not quite sure of the time yet. I'm going to guess it's sometime around noon. Olivier Coipel. And as always, we will be continued here. Stay safe, everybody. Hug your loved ones. Thank you again for being part of the warm-up. And I hope you enjoyed Chip. I kind of did. But, he's a great writer, great artist. Go check out all his marvel stuff, all his creator-owned stuff. And stop by his house. He may actually get out of bed and say hi to you. All right, guys. Take care. I'll see you.